Hey there, welcome back to Jersey Homestead. I'm Melissa if you're new, and today we are finishing up this weeding project. So last time I started getting attacked by mosquitoes, but today I have my nice mosquito pants and mosquito shirt on to keep me a little bit more protected. So my big goal today is to get the rest of this weeding done around the edge of my garden and get this mile a minute taken care of because it's really blocking the sun from my peppers and a few of my other plants, and the weeds have just gotten so out of control that I really need to get things back on track. So far, this garden this year has been a real learning experience, and a lot of things that I planted didn't necessarily do well. And I'm really even learning like how the soil holds onto the moisture in this area and how much fertilizer I need versus how often I need to water versus how much rain we get. So a lot of learning has been done, and I'm very excited in another week or two to get my fall garden planted, which I'm not normally able to do. And I think that this year is the year that I start doing that. And I think that the way our weather works out, that the fall garden is going to treat me a lot better than my spring garden does, because our springs tend to warm up really fast, and then like it's really sporadic. So we'll get like a day in the 80s, and then it'll go back to freezing, and so that's really rough on any plants that kind of like cold weather. So I actually just learned that mile a minute, it's also known as tear's thumb or tear thumb, I'm not quite sure. They make these really pretty blue berries as the fruit, and they're actually edible and you can eat them raw. So if you have mile a minute and it's a problem, you could try the berries, and then there are things that won't be able to reseed. So that's fun. All right, I gotta show you this. So I thought that the mile a minute was just coming from the ground, but here we are. Here's the enclosure, and look, nothing's really growing up from the ground. The mile a minute has stretched across the pokeweed here, in this giant blackberry bush, and that's where it's coming from. So I'm about to tear that down. All right, here we are with some gloves to keep my hands protected because the mile a minute actually has a lot of barbs on it, and the barbs are pretty sharp. They're not really thorns, but they're very detrimental and they can really scratch you up. So had to break down and use the gloves. And so I'm gonna try to get all this mile a minute down. Some of the things I tried planting earlier this year was lettuce and kale and some collard greens, in addition to some Swiss chard, and unfortunately, those were basically all failures. The kale did the best, but we have Japanese beetles here, especially because of our grapevines, and they really eat the grapevines. That's like their favorite thing. But it turns out that once they ate all the grapevines, they came after my greens. They ate all the collard greens. That was their favorite. And they completely decimated my kale and any chard my chard mostly didn't grow. So I don't know what my issue with the chard is, but I am continuing to not have success trying to grow chard here despite everybody claiming that it should be quite easy. So we'll see how that goes. I am going to be planting some more lettuce and some more greens and things for the fall garden, so we'll see if I'm able to figure it out a little bit. The weeds have really also prevented me from being able to set up my irrigation system because I kind of need to keep the space open so that I can weed because the weeds are so prevalent and aggressive here. But I'm hoping that either in the fall or next spring, because I've been pulling the weeds and cutting them back before they flower, that hopefully the pressure is a lot less intense next year, and then I'll be able to put my irrigation in without having to worry that when I'm like cutting through the weeds with my tools that I'm not going to accidentally hit my irrigation or have to move it all the time, because that's not necessarily great for the hoses or the connections. So figuring out a good watering schedule has been pretty difficult as well, but I am really enjoying the learning experience, and I'm glad that you're here with me. Honestly, feeling pretty overwhelmed here.
This is just a giant mass of weeds, and at this point I have no idea whether or not it is attached to the enclosure throughout or not, and I'm dreading how tangled it's going to be and how long this is going to take. Something else that having all these weeds has shown me is that pests and other bugs and even moisture problems, a lot of them stem from the plants being overcrowded. They don't have as much airflow, and so they can't dry out. And so even if like it hasn't rained in a while, moisture accumulates in these areas, and it can encourage mildew and mold growth, or potentially things that look like blight in tomatoes. And it encourages pests like unwanted bugs because they're going to go towards that area because they want to have a drink of the water that's accumulating there, or if it's very sunny, then it helps provide a bunch of extra shade for these bugs. And clearing out all these weeds has helped immensely with the amount of pest bugs like mosquitoes and chiggers that are in my garden already. So I'm very happy to have been able to finally get this weeding done, and I hope that I can keep it under better control in the future.
Woo! Alright, just one more clump off the front here, and then this whole section will be cleared off. Alright, let's see if I can pull it down. These gloves are great. I'm glad I put them on. Yeah.
While we do live in the woods, one of the reasons why the weeds are so bad in this area specifically is because we have a cesspit for our gray water over here. So like when we do dishes or use the sink or anything like that, the water comes over here and gets deposited into a hole in the ground. It's kind of like a septic tank, but it's the thing that existed before septic tank, like modern day septic tanks existed. So we're actually grandfathered in to being able to have our cesspits still because they are still functioning, even though they're pretty old. And if they were to break, then we would have to replace them with a septic system, and we wouldn't be able to get them repaired because they have been banned. I'm not sure if they're banned in all states, but I know that that's a New Jersey specific ban, and it definitely, because of all of the nutrients in the water for the gray tank, it leads to a rush of growth of plants in this area. All of the weeds in this area always get between 6 and 10 feet tall. It's crazy.
Blackberry. Very big thorns.
One of the biggest issues with these weeds, especially because they grow so fast, as you might be able to tell from the name Mile Minute, is that because they're climbing up the structure like this, and they really just make a big mat of them entangling on themselves, and so it gets thicker and thicker, and it creates such a shade system that it really prevents the plants underneath from being able to grow properly.
Okay, this first section's done. Check it out. There's the giant pile of Mile Minute. It's almost all Mile Minute in there. There's like a couple other things, but it's almost totally mile a minute, and that was the first section. So nice and cleared off here. Some sunlight. So now I just have the rest to do. Woo! I'm glad this stuff mostly sticks to itself and not my enclosure, because I was worried it was going to be really tangled in there. In both spots, it really wasn't. Oh, there's a lot of blackberries back here. Oh no. Oh, I'm going to get stuck. Gotta be careful.
I would just like to say thank you so much for being here. I hope that you're enjoying watching me get through this crazy amount of weeds that I have going on, and I hope that you are getting encouraged to do your own weeding if that's why you're here. And if you want to follow along with me and my journey of gardening and getting better at using this enclosure and just figuring out how to garden better in my area, which is in New Jersey, Zone 7A, then please like the video, subscribe, and maybe even turn on your notifications if you want to check out the new videos that I come out with every Sunday.
A bunch of my pepper plants did recover. This is a weed and mile a minute.
So these pepper plants honestly have done so well, and I'm so surprised because I did have them in pots as seedlings for like a really long time before I transplanted them into the garden. I have that in an earlier video of me transplanting them very late. And despite all of these weeds covering up the shade, they still have been growing really well, and actually within 2 days of me finishing this weeding, they all started flowering and producing peppers, and so that was really the last thing that was holding them back. I did have that hornworm issue early in the season, but it was really only 1 or 2 hornworms, and I was able to get them off, and now the only hornworms that I've seen recently was one on my other tomato bed that we planted out separately from everything else, and it's not in this enclosure, and that hornworm actually was covered in those wasp eggs. So that's exciting, and it means that the wasps are taking care of the problem with hornworms.
Okay, I think I can rake this out now.
I was shocked at how much material I got out when I'm raking out the garden from weeding. I really wasn't expecting it to be this much. Like, I knew the weeds were bad, but I didn't think they were this bad. But we do have a compost now, and our compost is doing really well because we've been putting in our wood shavings from the chicken coop when we clean out the chicken coop, because our bedding, we do the deep litter method for the chicken coop, which basically means that we use a lot of bedding and then we stir it up every couple weeks, and that basically enables it to start composting in the coop while they're utilizing it for their bathroom, and so it makes it less smelly, and so that we can just add the whole thing to the compost when we're done, and that enables it to be a real booster for our compost, and makes it so that I can add all of this green stuff without having to worry about it being too much nitrogen for the pile.
Oh. Oh, you're standing on the brush. Here. Oh, sun's coming out. That's better. Okay.
I am very excited to get this garden cleared out the rest of the way for the fall garden. I have already ordered some more seeds, and this coming weekend I'm going to be planting out my carrots, and then following that, over the next few days, I'm going to be planting out the rest of my fall garden after I finish clearing out the rest of the enclosure, and all the way up to probably about 3 weeks from now when I harvest my squashes. As soon as I harvest my squashes, I'm tearing those plants out because they all are getting powdery mildew, and I'm really trying to keep the diseases from getting too bad in the garden. And so I'm going to be doing a full overhaul, except for the peppers, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is going to come out once the harvest is on the decline or any of the plant starts decaying, because I've been having a lot of diseases, and it's probably because I have overplanted a lot of these, and so they have the issue with there being too much foliage. But I am hoping in the fall to plant everything just a little bit more sparsely and not have any pressure from diseases and much less pest pressure. And I'm hoping that that is going to go really well. I have never planted a fall garden, and so I'm very much looking forward to that. I have garlic coming that I ordered from Gurney's, I think, and I have 2 different varieties, and I'm also going to use a variety from my local produce shop because they have long neck variety garlic there to eat, and long hard neck varieties are the ones that I have to plant here. So I'm going to be trying that, and I'm very much looking forward to also growing some spinaches and kales that I hopefully don't have to worry about the Japanese beetle with, because they really did decimate my plants earlier in the year. And I'm going to try some other greens, like collard greens maybe again, and I'm going to try daikon again because my spring daikons were planted a little bit late, so it was a little bit too warm. But I think that the fall garden is going to go a lot better than the spring garden did, because I've already learned a lot, and I have some cool weather vegetables that I was not able to have a good success with the first run, and I think that our fall season is a lot more chill, like temperature wise too. We don't have as many fluctuations because, as I've mentioned before, our spring can get very wild in temperature. Like one day it'll be 80, and the next day it'll be 40, and then it'll be 60, and then it'll be 20. So it's not great, and it really throws a lot of even native plants off. So I think that our fall being more consistent is going to enable me to really grow a lot of nice vegetables in the fall. While I'm working through the back half of this garden, I would like to talk about my flowers. So you can see a little shot of the nasturtiums here, and my inside the enclosure flowers didn't do all that great this year, but I am very encouraged to grow more flowers because they really bring a lot of joy and color to the garden. And on the outside of the garden, we have a lot of marigolds and zinnias, and I think that next year I'm going to grow more marigolds and more zinnias, and I'm also going to try to grow calendulas in addition to maybe some cone flowers, and I'm going to get 1 or 2 large mums plants, chrysanthemums, because apparently they produce a chemical that helps repel things like ticks, and so hopefully that can help me avoid having so many problem pests in the garden, I'm guessing. So it's worth a shot anyway. And they're perennials here, so I only have to plant that one time, and it should be able to stay alive year to year as long as I give it enough space. And I think that the calendulas will be a nice addition because I've been trying to cut the marigolds and the zinnias to bring in as vase, as cut flowers in the house. And I think that calendulas would be a really nice addition to that, in addition to maybe cone flowers. And I'm still looking for ideas for what cut flowers to grow, though. So if there's any that you have that you love, I am looking for ideas, so please let me know. And I really enjoy all of the different pollinators that the flowers bring in. I did still have kind of poor pollination, I think, on my squash plants. I'm not sure if it was a pollination issue or if it was a moisture issue, so I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on that for next year. But I think if I if I fully enclose the surround the enclosure with flowers, this year the marigolds are only on one side. I think that if I do it fully all the way around, then that'll give us a nice barrier between the garden and the weeds. And in addition to that, it's really going to boost my pollinator status, because a lot of my weed pressure is coming from outside of the garden. And I think that if we can keep the weeds just a little bit more away from the garden, then that will help me in a lot of ways. Again, with the moisture, with the pests, with the shade. And I'm not going to be able to get rid of the weeds since we are in the woods, but I think that I can move them over a little bit. So maybe they don't bother my area. I'm just trying to use a little bit of the area. I think that we can coexist.
Well, I have some coriander seed over here. So that's exciting. I'm going to harvest that. I'm not sure if you can see it from over there, but I'll get a close-up of this. And also my mint is flowering because it's just a happy little guy in here, apparently. Pepper plants have already started flowering now that they have all the sunlight. I thought that might be preventing them from flowering, and it turns out it was. I already have my seeds picked out for the fall garden, so I'm very excited to be planting those in here once I got everything cleared out. Wow, I'm gonna have to trim this mint. It's crazy. I have some marigolds growing in here too. I don't know if I want to cut those down or not. I think I'm gonna leave them. For now, at least. Oh, well, that's the parsley. We still have parsley in here. That's nice. My basil, you can see it up here. It's flowering. I just got most of the rest of it that wasn't flowering harvested yesterday with 2 of my zucchinis, which I'll be cooking tonight for dinner with some chicken, which I'm very excited about. Our first 2 zucchinis from the season. Oh, the grass in here is killing me. Maybe I'll move you around. Okay, now you're over here. So you get to see the side of it. This is where all the herbs are, mostly weeds. This nasturtium, I thought we had lost in the heat wave, recovered. And this is a volunteer tomato that I didn't plant that is growing out of this bed, but it's drooping. It's gonna become a ground tomato. And this grass. Yes, I'm glad I was able to rip it out. I really don't want to cut it all out. Look at this. It's crazy. And 1 weed in addition to the grass. Giant grass. Growing out of my raised bed. There's no reason for that. Whoop! Ha. Oh, I got some of those corianders. Just a little bit though. Huh. Was there a bug on me? Oh, I hope not. Okay. These look like coriander seeds. Well, I'm not sure. The leaves have become... These ones look like they are. That one, I don't know. That might have been a weird look-alike. I'm gonna try to not pull out this tomato, but if I pull it out, oh well. Oh no, I see the base of it, nice. Oh, this is already looking way better. This is my borage. It fell over, but it's still doing its thing. Just falling over. Maybe it'll be happy that I'm weeding these plants around it. Oh yeah, and the top of it did break off in the wind during that heat wave. The storms that we had with that heat wave were crazy. We got the hail and everything. If you didn't see that video, I'm gonna link it. It goes over all 4 days of the heat wave, and I found a hornworm eating my peppers during that time, and we feed it to the chickens. Weed. I think some of this stuff has gone to seed, unfortunately, but most of it hasn't. What was that? I think it was just a rock, not a bug. Oh, I don't know. Oh, it's fine. It's gone. This is what I get for wearing sandals out here, but it's nice out, and I didn't want to wear my sneakers. Oh, we made great progress with this weeding. I don't want to stand directly in this brush pile. Oh wait, did I accidentally still pull out that coriander? I did. Haha. All right, I'm gonna set this aside so I can pull the seeds off of it. Yeah, that's definitely coriander. I can smell it. And I'm not going to pull out this little baby nasturtium that survived the heat wave unexpectedly. Get all these awful grasses from around it. Freedom for nasturtium. These are all weeds. This stuff hanging over the edge, that's not weeds, that's the alyssum that I planted, but I planted it too close together. It got very leggy. It was nice while it was blooming, but it's done now. All right, and this is the little bit of parsley I have left, and these sad marigolds. Oh, this dill. Oh, I think I'd be able to harvest these seeds too, actually. Great, I'm gonna come back out for those. Oh, that's exciting, some seeds. Okay, well, I'm gonna take a break, so.
Wrapping up here with one more raking, and I am pretty happy with the amount of weeds that I was able to get out of here. It's definitely not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was, and now my plants can get some light, and there's way more airflow in there, and once I'm done raking this out, we're going to have a lot more material in our compost, which is going to lead to better production of our food in the future as I grow it. This garden, I am grateful to have it, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what I can get to grow in the fall. I've never been able to try a fall garden before, and I am very hopeful, especially for growing garlic. We use a lot of garlic in cooking, and so it'll be really nice if I can grow it here and know that it's fresh and organic and nice and healthy, and it really seems to just be opening up a lot of options for us for our food. And I recently just found out how well spinach freezes, so I'm excited to try to grow a bunch of spinach in the fall so that I'll be able to freeze it and we'll be able to have some nice greens throughout the winter, because I like cooking with spinach in different soups and stuff like that. We don't even really eat it raw that much, but it's really great to cook with, and it's apparently very easy to freeze it, so we'll be finding that out as long as I can get it to grow, because again, it's something that I've struggled with when trying to do a spring garden, so maybe the fall is just a better season for us.
Oh, there was still blackberry in there. Luckily, I didn't grab it. Okay. I thought this would be the easier side to get through, but I was wrong. So I'm bringing that big mass through this side. Nice. Here's the giant mass of weeds that we got out of there. That's including the stuff that we raked out from this area right here in the front too. So that's all of the weeds that we got from this side of the garden. Wowee. Okay, so we've done some nice weeding through here. We have the nice bed nice and weeded. This bed halfway weeded, but there's some nice flowers I was talking about, and a couple little baby peppers on there. And here's the other peppers, much more exposed now. We do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that lived. Oh no, all of them lived. They're the ones just down here hiding because this one decided to lean. And then I have these weird marigolds that popped up, or is it just one? I wonder if I could make it stand up. Oh, I think it is just one. I don't know if I could make it stand up. It's huge. I'm gonna try. Stand it up like that. Maybe I'll dig it up and then rebury it. Because it looks like this is a root that came up and is now making another plant. Yeah, I need to do something about that. The basil. And here's the rest of where we weeded. And then we weeded up there in the beginning. And I'll do another shot from that side. Here is the other side of the garden after we weeded. There's still a lot to do, but compared to how it was when we started this project, I am quite happy with the progress that we've done. Tomatoes are still out of control, but we're doing okay here. And here we have outside the enclosure. We have also done a lot of weeding here. I did this mostly in the rain, and then Charles also came through on the further edge out here and did some weed whacking. And also through this path he did some weed whacking, which is very helpful. And now our flowers are doing very nice. They're quite happy. We have a lot of butterflies hanging out.
And we're lucking out because there's one right here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate you hanging out with me while I tackled a bunch of these weeds, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.